Hey, Hatchers! Welcome back for Chapter 2 of the Westing game. Let's get to it.
Ghosts or worse.
On September 1st, the Chosen Ones, and the Mistake, remember, these people
Were
were
chosen especially to live in these apartments, but one of them was chosen
by mistake. Now, we don't know why they were chosen or who these people really are, but we know that one of them is not supposed to be there. A wire fence had been erected along the north side of the building. On it, a sign warned, "No trespassing. Property of the Westing estate." The newly paved driveway curved sharply and doubled back on itself rather than breach the city-county line. Sunset Tower stood at the far edge of town. On September 2nd, Shinhu's restaurant, specializing in authentic Chinese cuisine, held its grand opening. Only 3 people came. It was indeed an exclusive neighborhood, too exclusive for Mr. Hu. However, the less expensive coffee shop that opened on the parking lot was kept busy serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner to tenants ordering up and to workers from nearby Westington. Sunset Towers was a quiet, well-run building, and except for the grumbling, Mr. Hu, the people who lived there seemed content. Neighbor greeted neighbor with good morning or good evening or a friendly smile, and grappled with small problems behind closed doors. The big problems were yet to come. Now it was the end of October. A cold, raw wind whipped dead leaves around the ankles of the 4 people grouped in the Sunset Tower's driveway. But not one of them shivered. Not yet. The stocky, broad-shouldered man in the doorman's uniform, standing with feet spread, fists on hips, was Sandy McSuthers. The 2 slim, trim high school seniors, shielding their eyes against the stinging chill, were Theo Theodorakis and Doug Hu. The small, wiry man pointing to the house on the hill was Otis Amber, the 62-year-old delivery boy. They faced north, gapping like statues cast in the moment of discovery, until Turtle Wexler, her kite tail of a braid flying behind her, raced her bicycle into the driveway. "Look, look! There's smoke! There's smoke coming from the chimney of the Westing house." The others had seen it. What did she think they were looking at, anyway? Turtle leaned on the handlebars, panting for breath. Sunset Towers was near excellent schools, as Barney Northrup had promised, but the junior high was 4 miles away. Do you think old man Westing's up there?" "Nah," Otis Amber, the delivery boy, answered. "Nobody's seen him for years. Supposed to be living on a private island in the South Seas, he is. But most folks say he's dead. Long gone dead. They say his corpse is still up there in that big old house. They say his body is sprawled out on a fancy oriental rug, and his flesh is rotting off those mean bones, and maggots are creeping in his eye sockets and crawling out his nose holes." The delivery boy added a high-pitched hee-hee-hee to the gruesome details. Now someone shivered. It was Turtle. "Serves him right," Sandy said. At other times, a cheery fellow, the doorman often complained bitterly of having been fired from his job of 20 years in the Westing paper mill. But somebody must be up there. Somebody's alive, that is. He pushed back the gold-braided cap and squinted at the house through his steel-framed glasses, as if expecting the curling smoke to write the answer in the autumn air. "Maybe it's those kids again." "No, it couldn't be." "What kids?" The 3 kids wanted to know. "Why, those 2 unfortunate fellows from Westington." "What unfortunate fellows?" The 3 heads twisted from the doorman to the delivery boy. Doug Hu ducked Turtle's whizzing braid. "Touch her precious pigtail even by accident, and she'll kick you in the shins." "The brat." He couldn't chance an injury to his legs, not with the big meat coming. The track star began to jog in place. "Horrible, horrible it was," Otis Amber said with a shudder that sent the loose straps of his leather aviator helmet swinging back on his long, thin face. "Come to think of it, it happened exactly 1 year ago, tonight. On Halloween." "What happened?" Theo Theodorakis asked impatiently. He was late for work in the coffee shop. Remember, his family owns that coffee shop, that's right. And Doug Hu's family owns the restaurant. "Tell him, Otis," Sandy urged. The delivery boy stroked the gray stubble on his pointed chin. "Seems it all started with a bet. Somebody bet them $1 they couldn't stay in that spooky house 5 minutes. 1 measly buck. The poor kids hardly got through those French doors on this side of the Westing house when they came tearing out like they were being chased by a ghost. Chased by a ghost or worse.
Or worse?
Turtle forgot her throbbing toothache. Theo Theodorakis and Doug Hu, older and more worldly wise, exchanged winks but stayed to hear the rest of the story. One fellow ran out crazy-like, screaming his head off. He never stopped screaming until he hit the rocks at the bottom of the cliff. The other fella hasn't said but 2 words since. Something about purple. Sandy helped him out. Purple waves. Otis Amber nodded sadly. Yep, that poor fella just sits in the state asylum saying, purple waves, purple waves.
Otis Amber nodded sadly. You see, when he came running out of the
Westinghouse, his hands were dripping with warm red blood. Now all 3 shivered. Poor kid, the doorman said. All that pain and suffering for $1 bet. Make it $2 for each minute I stay in there and you're on, Turtle said. Someone was spying on the group in the driveway. From the front window of apartment 2D, 15-year-old Chris Theodorakis watched his brother Theo shake hands, it must be a bet, with the skinny one-pigtailed girl and rush into the lobby. The family coffee shop would be busy now. His brother should have been working the counter half an hour ago. Chris checked the wall clock. 2 more hours before Theo would bring him up his dinner. Then he would tell him about the limper. Earlier that afternoon, Chris had followed the flight of a purple Martian across the field of brambles, through the oaks, up to the red maple on the hill. The bird flew off, but something else caught his eye. Someone came out of the shadows on the lawn, unlocked the French doors, and disappeared into the Westinghouse. Someone with a limp. Minutes later, smoke began to rise from the chimney. Once again, Chris turned toward the side window and scanned the house on the hill. The French doors were closed. Heavy drapes hung full against the 17 windows he had counted so many times. They didn't need drapes in the special glass windows here in Sunset Towers. He could see out, but nobody could see in. Then why did he feel sometimes that someone was watching him? Who could be watching him? The binoculars fell to the boy's lap. His head jerked, his body coiled, lashed by violent spasms. Relax. Theo will come soon. Relax. Soon the goose will be flying south in a V. Canada goose. Bronta candacia. Relax. Relax and watch the wind tangle the smoke and blow it toward Westington.
Alright guys, that is the
End of chapter 2.